Ever seen the commercial when the guy plops down on the couch and goes, "Phew, I'm done. I finished it." And the wife's in the kitchen goes, "Yeah, what'd you finish?" And the guy goes, "The internet." To this day, I don't know what that commercial's about, but it's the same thing for comic books. I walked in January of this year to my friendly local comic book store, the FLCS, so I have learned. Complete newbie, but I guess they're called nooblers for comic books, and I knew nothing. Of course I knew about the big two. DC being Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and then you had Marvel that had the X-Men, which was Wolverine, Professor X, and Cyclops, Magneto, and then they also had Captain America and Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, and the Avengers and stuff like that. Sure, I knew about those things. Granted, there's major motion pictures now about it, and a lot of other people know about it as well, but I've never really sat down and read a comic book. A long time ago, Moon Knight was my favorite, and apparently that's Marvel's Batman analog. But like the other people that are doing these podcasts and vlogs, they've known comics forever and ever. They can actually say, well, they're doing the same story arc as the one back in 1985. That is not me, and that's not what this is all about. I would like to share with you what I have learned as I dove headlong into the realm of comics. So back to January, I'm looking for a reprieve. I'm looking for a 15-minute escape. So why not go to a comic book store? I go in and I pass the two racks that are both DC and Marvel, and I go to this back rack, if you will. And Image, I did know about Image because of Spawn. I worked on the Spawn soundtrack when I was working for Georgia Cogni, so I know a little bit about Todd McFarlane and Image Comics, but there's all these other ones, and I wasn't familiar with them at all. But I did see a #1 issue, so I saw the cover, judged it by its cover, I picked it up, looked at it, and I'm like, oh, the art's okay. You know, I knew nothing about art. I didn't know from A to Z about art. And that particular title was Deathmatch by Boom Studios. Paul Jenkins and Carlos Magno. I'm going to be saying a lot of names, and again, being a noobler, I don't know how to say these names at all, but I'll do my best. But again, what I want you to take away from this video is what I've learned since I've dove into this. I asked a lot of opinions, did a lot of research. I think I have a pretty good head on my shoulders, so hopefully you're going to learn some things as well as corroborate some things. Post some comments and actually correct a lot of the things that I don't know. So, Deathmatch. You know what appealed to me? They had an NCAA tournament at the end. Another thing is that these characters, they really brought backstory and history in just a little bit of the dialogue. Now, I don't want this to be reviews of comics. I don't have the breadth or the knowledge or the experience to review them. But this is what I gathered. These characters that they're inventing and putting this history behind it in very few words, they're going to die for real and not get reincarnated and back like a soap opera or Green Lantern comes back and all that stuff. So I picked it up, and now it's on its 11 out of 12th issue. So that shows you how long I've been doing this. Almost about a year. Actually, it's January till now, which is, what is now? November. So that's #1. Now here is the problem, the curse, and the blessing. There's these things called pull lists. And let's go to the business side of it all. You're a comic book store owner. You have 5 issues of Batman coming in. You just say 5, and 5 strangers come in and they buy it, and good, you made your money. But let's say only one person. Now you got 4 to deal with. What the pull list does is makes it so when I go in there and they're all gone, I was like, damn, I wanted that Batman issue. So I say, pull that Batman. And you know what he says? Well, I don't need to just have 5 anymore. I can order 6 and 1 goes to Phil. Now let me tell you this, being new to the comic book industry. If you have a pull list, people, don't immediately change titles or absolutely just say, I'm not doing it anymore. That's basically taking money straight out of that comic book store owner's pocket. Don't do it. Don't do it. In fact, if you want to be nice about it, say, hey, you know what? Tailor back on the Batman, Superman's, whatever, you name the title. That's what you want to do. So that they have a time to, because they order like 3 months in advance, I believe. So then they have time to tailor it back. That's just a nice thing to do. But here's the punchline. I missed a Wednesday. And let me give 2 shouts out. Comic Girl 19 and Amy Dolan of Talking Comics, that's from Geek and Sundry. I do know about Geek and Sundry through Will Wheaton's Tabletop, because I invented a card game and I see him at conventions and stuff. But again, to the punchline. I missed one Wednesday, so I have 2 weeks on my pull list. What? Quit my job to read comics. Hopefully there's value in all of this noobler going through these, not reviewing, and just giving the what's what on what I've gathered in the last 10 months of comics. Let's start rifling through these. Thor, done by Aaron. Apparently Aaron is a one that can really get into a character to make you care about it. Apparently he did something with Indestructible Hulk. I haven't read it, but this, and there's a Kubrick guy, Aaron Rubrick, I think, was the guy that started doing the art, and everyone really loves him. It's almost, to me, it was almost like watercolor. But me being slightly north, Scandinavian, Viking, depends on how far back you go, loved it. I really love this, and everyone else loves it, and I'm sure you see that on other vlogs. So, moving on. Captain America, that's Remender. It's up to 13. He's finally out of this Dimension Z thing. Again, I don't want to do reviews, but the artwork gave me a headache. I don't think I quite understood what that type of art was doing. Apparently people like his beard. Moving on. Andy Diggle and this guy, Agustin Alessio. This is awesome. It makes his shield such a great weapon. The art is amazing, and I think it's only a 4-part series. So, I really, really love this Captain America Living Legend. Actually, Andy Diggle did issue 19 and 20 of Action Comics, and that's Superman. But apparently there is, rumor mill, there are some differences with what they wanted to do, and Andy Diggle jumped ship, and that's DC, remember, and it goes over to Marvel to do this. Really nice, really nice. Now let's, and this is in no particular order, another Boom Studios, Clive Barker's Next Testament. Now, apparently I'm supposed to point out that that's Mark Miller, not Mark Millar, and he's supposed to be a very big name. I wish I could tell you how wonderful his previous works are. Again, a noobler, maybe it's in one of these trades back here. In fact, I believe it is. There it is. Wanted is one of Millar's stuff, and that was the Angelina Jolie movie that was adapted. I swear it looks like Halle Berry in there, but apparently Angelina Jolie got the part, and there's no bending of bullets in here. That's a pretty gnarly comic. I'm going to get into trade paperbacks versus single issues all throughout this, but if you don't have the first 1 through 5 issues, you can always get the trade paperback. Here's a plus. You get it, you read it, and it's there. You can pick it up. You don't have to go to a box and open up the little, tape thing. The benefit of having the TPBs is it's right there. It is right there. Negative, it'll never be worth anything. However, do not collect comics for the sake of the value going up. It's just not going to happen anymore. Printing is so damn easy. It's not like there's 1,000 issues, limited print run of something. It's just read it for enjoyment. Read it for nostalgia. Read it so that you can go in and have camaraderie with the people at your local comic store and talk about, I mean, hey, on Wednesdays when the comics come out, now I go on Wednesdays and I can see the people reading my titles and we sort of banter about, oh, did you see that? Or that was a cool part. That's part of comic books. Gotta tell you, that's what I've learned. That camaraderie of going into the store and actually talking to the people, that's, hell, that's half or more of the fun of me getting into such a crazy amount of pull lists. This is crazy. It's crazy insane. Crazy insane. All right, Next Testament, it is just so like Clive Barker. I don't know how involved he is in it, but it's, the God comes back and he's bad and he's blowing people's heads off. Why do I keep with it? I don't know. Probably because I don't want to take it off of my pull list, because one of those is for me. Retcon. Coffin Hill, that's Vertigo. Now, Vertigo is to DC as Max is to Marvel. So those are sort of the adult themed. Why The Last Man, that's a Vertigo. Max is Phantom X, I think I have. That's from Max. That's the only one I have. This is sort of fun. It's sort of goth. Horror, witch. Yeah, moving on. I don't have the backstory to even care about these. I was told I was going to like it because I like deathmatch because of the NCAA tournament thing. Moving on. Ooh, Jonathan Hickman. That's a big name. How do I know that's a big name? Because of the Infinity thing. Infinity is so big, it crosses over like 3 titles and there's tie-ins. It's like this big Marvel opus that's going to go into the next thing of the Inhumans. But Infinity has Thanos coming in, and the main thing that I'm taking away from all that is the hard work that came before it to make sure it's all succinct, let's just say. That one guy isn't doing one thing and one guy's not doing another thing. When I say guy, I mean authors, writers. Jonathan Hickman, however, goes over to Avatar, which is not Marvel by any stretch, and wants to do something different. And you know what? It's almost like a history lesson, this God is dead thing. Basically, God, which I guess is the Judeo-Christian God, is dead, inferring that. And that's like the Egyptian gods go, okay, we get this section, and the Norse gods, we get this section, and then they say, you're in our territory. And so now, basically, gods are warring, which is pretty fun. This actually sparks the fact that I want to talk about previews. Previews is this huge thing that comes out, and I remember saying, I don't want to do previews. That's just too much. I'm not a comic aficionado. I don't get it. However, what happens with previews is that you go, hey, I really want that one thing special, or I want that TPB and I don't want you to forget to order it, so you help out your comic book store guy by filling out one of these. Now, I've been told I'm not helping him out by the legibility. However, whoever's making previews, could you make it on paper that you could actually use ballpoint on? Yeah, that stands for itself. I can't use ballpoint on that, so I use this huge permanent marker, much to my store owner's chagrin. But that preview gets things that I'm, again, about 3 months ahead. You're going to be ordering things that are coming down the pike. And one such thing is this Unity, and this is like a special Unity. Is it going to be collectible? I don't know. It's probably going to be worth $10 maybe, ever. Unity is one of those crossovers of all the different Valiant universe. Now, going to the trade paperback. As you can see behind me, this whole section is the Valiant Universe trade paperback. I love Valiant Universe. It seems to just hit that right chord that you can't please all the people all the time, but whatever Valiant is doing, it's hitting me and people like me. Like, you just read Bloodshot and it's just sort of gruesome but awesome. It reminds me of way old Punisher, Marvel stuff. I do know about that one in the past. It has funniness with like Archie and Armstrong and Quantum and Woody, and then you have this Bloodshot with this nanite guy, and then you also have the whole Harbinger thing that goes into the Harbinger Wars, and that's with Toyo Harada. I love it. Take a peek at it, and again, the benefit of that is that I got in too late. In fact, I think the only ones that I got single issues is that there was 1 through 8 of Shadow Man that was from the Valiant Universe. And I held it until I got Shadow Man 0. I read Shadow Man 0 and I loved it. I was like, what is this? This is crazy. I've never read anything so dark and it looks so beautiful. But Shadow Man 1 through 8 wasn't that at all. It was the 0 was awesome. The 1 through 8 wasn't. And apparently, rumor mill, that the guy that did 0 is coming back. So maybe there's some salvation there. He's not part of the Unity thing, but Valiant Universe, I came in a little bit late, so I collect all of Valiant Universe in the trade paperbacks. I love them. I love the way they look, and they have nice little different colors. And whenever there's a lot of continuity stuff, I go like, wait a minute, is that? And I can go right there, and I can flip through it, and I can figure out my answer. I think a lot of the allure of comics for me is the problem solving, the riddles, and different companies do riddles differently. Let me stop there for a second and talk about Pulse. I swear, Bloodshot #1, that's Pulse that takes down the drone. Now for the VU guys that are out there, you know what I'm talking about. If you do the continuity when it gets to Bloodshot 4 and she's like yay high and then gets really tall within a page, okay, explain it. Maybe she uses her powers and gets older quicker. Maybe, I don't know. That's not the point. There is times that if you do the timeline 3 years earlier and then he does there and he saves her, there's no way that can be Pulse. I was very miffed about that, and I asked all my people, and I was getting internet searches. Then all of a sudden, I don't know if it was Bloodshot 0, but here's another negative of a TPB. It was in a single issue in the back. Amy Dolan loves the fact of reading all those letters, and you don't get those in the TPBs. You get some, different cover arts and stuff like that. But in the single issues, you get some more of the correspondence. And I had one of those single issues for our Harbinger Wars, and it had a full paragraph explaining that. It really did. I think they sort of wrote themselves out of a hole. Could be, don't know. Everyone says, go write them, Phil. Go write them. But moving on. Phantom X. Remember, Vertigo is to DC as Max is to Marvel. I was told that if you don't understand this guy, why get it? It's explicit, and if that's explicit, try Google searching chicken breast. Moving on. Superior Spider-Man. I heard that Dan Slott was getting death threats because of this whole, I guess they're calling him Spock now, but that's, Otto Gunther Octavius, which is Dr. Octopus, that is now inhabiting Spider-Man's brain. I came into comics knowing about Spider-Man, Peter Parker, etc. I freaking love this. I'm sorry. Death threats to Dan Slott or not, I kept on saying issue 4 or 5, I was like, do something, Spider-Man, kill someone, be bad. And he is badass, and I love it. Spider-Man with minions and has an island and has bots everywhere. I'm digging it. I'm digging it, and I think some people are turning around on that. I really did like the Yost did Avenging Spider-Man, which then turned into Spider-Man Team Up. I don't think he's doing it anymore, and I do believe Yost did a lot with the screenplay in Thor 2, so maybe that's where he is. I'm not too sure, but the one thing I want to point out about the Avenging Spider-Man, which turned into Spider-Man Team Up, is that it filled in all the gaps for the guy, noobler like me, that was like, what's happening here? Well, he filled in the blanks of Superior Spider-Man, and it sort of went together, sister comic, if you will. And I like that. I really did. The best part about it was one arc. It was like one comic, one story. You don't get those anymore, and it's starting to tick me off. Now that I have so many that I'm going through per week, it's like, what is happening? For instance, I have this East of West. It's on 7, okay? I know it's about the apocalypse. It's pretty racy. A lot of people are enjoying it. It is another Hickman. So Hickman's also at Avatar, and he's also doing, what is it? This is Image. And then Hickman's obviously doing the whole Infinity thing. And I really wish I had, but it's not there. But what did I have to do? Because I didn't have any trades of East Side West, I had to pull them all out. Okay? So I need to basically reread these to figure out where I am. That's what's killing me. Yost didn't do that. One comic, one story, start to finish. Now everything is basically going to be a 4-story arc that's going to fit into a TPB. So why get singles? Do you really need to be on top of it? Do you really need to talk about what just happened? To me, I'm just not that avid, but I do care about continuity and understanding this. Alright, moving on. We have all new X-Men. This started out like so wow. It was a great entry point for me that they're bringing in the yesteryear X-Men to talk to the new X-Men to basically whip them in shape. It's fabulous to me to see an old person talk to an older a person in the past come and talk to their present self. And then it went into Battle of Adam that actually had future selves. In fact, 2 sets of future selves. So Battle of Adam, yeah, you better go back. Okay, I don't want to go back. And then the other guys come in and say, okay, you better go back. Well, yeah, that's what we were saying, but we don't want to go back. And nothing really ever happened. That's Brian Michael Bendis. And I do know about Brian Michael Bendis, the narration quality of his words I love. It's a pacing thing. I think now after 10 months, I'm starting to get the different pacing between comics. And I know about Brian Michael Bendis because of Moon Knight. Again, remember Moon Knight was one of the few characters that I read when I was a kid. And I got these trades, and it was all about, you know, Age of Ultron next. And I can't say I enjoyed Age of Ultron. Moving on. An Infinity tie-in. The way that they made the Infinity tie-ins was good and bad. There's things like the Thunderbolts that tick me off. Like, you can't have one bubble dialogue referencing Thanos and saying that's a tie-in. Grr, arg. Don't like that at all. However, it got me to get to this, Mighty Avengers. Why Superior Spider-Man is with this group, it doesn't really make sense, but let's just move on. Whoever this Blue Marvel guy, I think it's Adam Bashir, he may be my newest favorite, his best character right now. I don't know what he's about, but I am basically getting this because of him. Moving on, we have Justice League of America number 9, Forever Evil. I got Justice League and Justice League of America not knowing that throughout history of comics, there's always this sort of Waller American government lady saying, you're going to be too powerful, so we need to protect ourselves. I guess there's Cadmus in the past, and now Justice League of America is basically handpicking, oh, this guy goes against this guy, this guy goes against this. We're going to get Vibe, who got his own title, to go against Flash. They went into something called Trinity War. I can't say that was a war. That may have been a disagreement and a little bit of a scuffle. And now goes into Forever Evil. A lot of people are hemming and hawing, and I understand that, but the one thing I'm starting to dig about it, oh, by the way, they're supposed to be dead, they're not supposed to have their weapons, and all of a sudden they do, grr, ah. Also, a little grr, ah, is the Trinity of Sin prelude and prequels, which is Pandora. She was a cave girl that saw the skull, opened it up, and the deadly sins were unleashed against mankind. Got it. All the way at the end, hopefully this isn't a spoiler, but some guy says, oh, but only the guy from the other dimension can open up this doorway. Dude, was the cave girl from the other Earth 3? They're never going to explain that. That's totally wrong. And also, there's another ending part, and it was in Justice League that was sort of a Shazam, like, back pager, that the Shazam wizard guy comes in and says basically, oh, you'll know how to use it, and this is big, and I'm dying. That has nothing to do with the gateway to Earth 3. Are they making it up as they go along? Because you're wasting my time and money, and I don't like that. On the plus side, Forever Evil, it's dark, and I love it. Go Jeff Johns. I mean, there's basically, he looks like Superman, though he's not. But he's crushing hands and stuff of the people that you know. It's let's get dark, DC. Let's get dark. All right. In previews, I saw, get this. I got it. I don't know. Gillen, let me tell you something. I came in late into Iron Man. I didn't get a trade. I got the singles. I enjoyed it. I was loving it. It was one of those easy reads. It wasn't those hard, let me solve the riddles. I'm reading it. I like it. And I'm not going to spoil it for you. This is 18. When I read 17, okay, I wanted to throw it against the wall. What are you thinking? It reminded me of high school when the English teacher said, never end your stories with, and then I woke up. That, shame. Actually, quite honestly, shame. Batman, Superman. This apparently is a widescreen version. I don't know how I feel about that. However, I do want to point out that 1 through 4 were done by this, Infinity. I'll be back to that in a sec. 1 through 4 of the Batman, Superman was done by this artist called Jay Lee. I can't explain it. I'm too noobler about it, but it's art, okay? It's artistic, and his way of painting that picture is almost disconjunct to the way that the artist is writing the words, but they go together. Disconjunct and going together. It's something that I really watch and then read. That's the disconjunct. I I'm really a fan of this. I really had to study up on these Earth 1, Earth 2 stuff. And it's a younger person talking to the other person in the present or the now. However, those are both concurrent, even though one's younger because they're in parallel universes. And I really got my my 101 graduate degree in all of that parallel universes when I wanted to finish the internet. And I said, well, wait a minute. I got this brightest day or this blackest night, and what comes before that? Oh, well, then you got to read that, and then you got to read that. So then you have behind me this Crisis on Infinite Earths. Dense! Oh my God! Days! And riddle solving like mad. Then you go into the Infinite Crisis and then Final Crisis, and there's stuff even in between. And it was a mental stretch, and it was something great on the plane, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But it's definitely different than anything that Marvel would do, like the Avengers versus X-Men. That was just flowed, and it was sort of a nice experience. Right, this was sort of gritty and stop-start instead of the flow. Identity Crisis is a standalone. I just want to point out that that's Meltzer, Brad. He's the guy that did the TV show that they're trying to undo the myths, and they went to the Grove, and they were doing this other, the Wilkes Booth, Unsolved Mysteries. God, I wish I remember. And he's a very good novelist. I wish you would do more. Could you do more, Brad? Thanks. That'd be great. Just want to also point out that in Batman Superman, this is that lenticular stuff. It's a bit of a gimmick, but it may make things a little bit valuable. Because the stores were only allotted a certain amount. However, in previews, now you can buy all of them for $200. There goes the collectability. Maybe it's the second printing versus first printing. They're sort of fun. They move around. They're like 3Ds. They remember like the rulers with the car moving and the black and white flag. Anyway, again, this is the Forever Evil without the tie-ins. The other one I showed you was a tie-in. Here's another tie-in of Arkham War. I just don't understand enough of Bane and Batman and stuff. I'm not getting it too much. But Forever Evil, again, it's dark, it's gritty. Just go. DC, make it controversial, you know? Go Bloodshot. Go Bloodshot on Forever Evil. Back to the Infinity thing, I couldn't find out. So I'm really loving these. It's not like I'm collecting them, but I am holding them. I didn't really know about this Hickman guy that's going to go cross over 20 issues of Avengers, 23 I think, and then 6 issues of Infinity, and then I think there's 12 issues of New Avengers. And I was reading those, really trying to catch up on everything, even though it was the relaunch, thank God. A lot of people hate this relaunch, the Marvel Now and the New 52, but for me it was perfect timing. I needed that reboot, if you will. But as you can see, for other nooblers that are trying to figure all this out, you have the Infinity that goes 1 through 6, and then you have the Avengers and New Avengers, and then you have all these tie-ins. And I did my very, very best to try to get all these tie-ins, and I did. And again, the Thunderbolts ticked me off. There's not a tie-in. Even the Nova and Superior Spider-Man tie-ins, there's references, or maybe they're fighting Thanos. That's not a tie-in. What were really good tie-ins is the Avengers Assemble and Captain Marvel. What I thought was ingenious is, from the Avengers, you may see it from one perspective, but you got Spider-Woman over here, and from Spider-Woman's perspective on her tie-in, she's seeing it over here. That's just cool, genius, neat. Arms of the Octopus, we're talking about another time travel thing, but this was very nice that they only had 3. So they had the all-new X-Men special, Indestructible Hulk special, and the Superior Spider-Man team-up special, and it was succinct, crossed the titles, involved different people, but it was only 3, and I thank you for that. Not making it this 20-issue crossover stuff that's a bit laborious. Again, when you had the old people saying that they didn't want to go home, and the present people saying you got to go home, and then the future people said you got to go home. That's what the Battle of Atom is. And it was 10 parts. And what they did very well was, even though there's different titles when it comes to the X-Men Battle of the Atom, All New X-Men, X-Men, and Wolverine and the X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, those are all the different titles. But they had a 10-chapter thing with the yellow bar, and you knew it, and it was easy to collect. And what I learned from that is to take all of those and put them aside. Just like, oh, I just want to read the trade and have it start to finish because these story arcs are 4+ issues, and now I have to pick it up. I just read whatever 30 comics. Now I'm going to get another one. I'm like, what in the hell happened? Like East of West. I can't remember that. There's too many stories going on in my head. What was very good about that is I just put it off to the side, gathered the 10, read, actually I went 1 through 8 and then read 9 and 10. I strongly advise that if you're reading a lot of comics. Put them aside. Let's talk about bags. I wanted to learn about how to bag these. Trades you don't have to bag, they're not going to be worth anything. So I wanted to learn how to bag comics. Stupid? I don't know. It's really just to protect them. But what I learned is that there's these current, right? You go into the store and it says current, and there'll be a current board. So this is a current board. And this is the comic. And as you can tell, they're right on the edge, right? And this is, I want to say like a 1 or 2 mil bag. And you can see that there's corners here, you know, that sort of pop up because it's thinner, right? More like a sandwich bag. Versus, I guess it would be called Silver Age backing, and you have some space. I almost thought, because I'm a completist, I would say completionist, to take all my bags and my boards and convert them all to silver. But again, don't collect for collectability or getting money. Do it for the nostalgia, the retcons, and the camaraderie at the store. But from now on, I'm doing silver, so I have a little bit extra, you know, space on the side, as well as, if I could, I would, here, this is one of those 1 or 2 mils. Hear the crackling, and if it bent, it would really bend, and invariably you're going to have these in a short box or a long box, and these are going to be sticking up. So then the other ones that I would like to get are the thicker ones. And see that lower pitch? It's actually a little bit less glossy here. That would be my preference. Here's 2 other little nit-gritty things. Is it horizontal? Or is it diagonal? Or, as I was told by a long-time reader and works at Marvel, to do one from one corner to one corner. I'm going with that. That is the easiest, because now when I have so many to read, I go back to them and I have all these East of West and I need to open them up, right? So I stick my finger in there and I'll pull it open and I have to read them again. If I were putting them away forever and ever, maybe I would do that full horizontal thing. One last thing that I'm asking questions about everything, right? So I wanted to know what backing to put forward, because all of these backs have a shiny side and sort of a matte side. I've been told, and they're all acid-free, so it doesn't really matter is what I was told, but I was told to put the glossy side against the comic, okay? So that's a little bit about bags. I will go through this next week. I'll have a whole bunch to go through. Again, I don't want to have this to be a review, okay? I don't have the breadth of knowledge to do the reviews. Just what I feel about it and what I've learned, especially about the people. Amy Dolan, as well as Comic Girl 19, said, how do you start? You know, TPs versus single issues. It is ongoing for me to figure out which one. And a lot of times I choose. You know, Valiant is going to be TPBs. I may get one issue number 1 or 2, like Unity, that like you saw. But the TPBs are very convenient, especially when you have deep stories that you need to go back to. So that's one plus of having the TPBs. Thank you. If you made it this far, I don't even know how long I'm talking. I think I'm sweating. Am I sweating? Oh my god, I'm sweating. Remember Brian K. Vaughan for Saga and Invincible? Yeah. God, I hope that's right. Is that Robert? No, Robert Kirkham. Robert Kirkham is Walking Dead. Brian K. Vaughan is Why the Last Man and Saga. Start there. Oh, shout out to Amy Dolan. I got Day Tripper for you. Okay, that's for you. But if you have to give any trade to any person to get them into comics, I strongly recommend you give them Saga Volume 1. The last Saga issue, very sexy. Very sexy. I'm looking for a girl that prays. You know, prays. That's it for now. I need to go. And that was one take. And that was the first take. What should I call this? PK's data dump? The weekly pull list? Haul, I don't know what that means, haul. I see a lot of haul vlogs. I don't know what it is. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found what I learned as I delve into the comic book world that's so vast and so historical that this is out of control. That many comics can't skip a week is what it's about. All right, I gotta go. Hope you have fun.